Hey kiddos, welcome to this week's homework review. We are going to start off with comparing numbers. Remember, this is talking about using our alligator mouths. As a quick reminder, we're going to start with the largest place value and we're going to keep moving ourselves one value at a time until we find a difference between our numbers. Make sure that you take the time to underline the digits you're looking at. This helps our brain make some really strong connections and make sure that we're focusing on the numbers that count. So let's go ahead and get started. If I'm comparing 210 and 685, the largest value is going to be the hundredths place. So I'm asking myself, is 2 or 6 larger? We know that 6 is larger. That is the way we're going to draw our symbol. Make sure that you add your teeth if you like to. We would read this as 210 is less than 685 because our larger number is over to the right. Taking a look at the next one, we're comparing 264 and 703. So I'm underlining the hundredths place, that's my greater value. Is 200 or 700 greater? We're going to go with our same less than symbol. This one is 264 is less than 703. 703 is our largest value. Comparing 662 and 769, again, hundredths place is our largest value. Is 600 or 700 larger? Again, our less than. 662 is less than 769. Comparing 616 and 903. 6 and 9 compared, 9 is larger. We're going to use our less than symbol. Comparing 238 and 547, we start with our hundredths place. We're asking ourselves, is 2 or 5 larger? The 5 is larger. 238 is less than 547. And our last one, comparing 264 and 874, 2 and 8, what is larger? 8 is larger. 264 is less than 874. That brings us to the end of our first review. Remember, you only need to complete one assignment at a time. So at this point, you can stop this video. I will post it again later in the week when you're ready to review your next assignment. All right, sweet faces, let's take a look at our next one. Again, we are comparing numbers. We have 493 and 186. If we look at our greatest value, we're comparing a 4 and a 1 in the hundredths place. 493 is going to be greater than 186. This time we're comparing 765 and 385. Is 700 or 300 greater? 700 is going to be the greater value. Comparing 197 and 129. We're comparing 100 and 100. These values are the same, so we cannot make our decision yet. We're going to slide to the right, and we're going to compare our 9 and our 2. Is 9 tens or 2 tens greater? We're going to go with the 9. That tells us that 197 is greater than 129. Comparing 330 and 991, is 300ths or 900ths greater? We're going to go with 900. So 330 is less than 991. Looking at 152, 672, the 600 is greater, so 154 is less than 672. Comparing 735 and 170, 700 is greater, so 735 is greater than 107. That is the end of this homework review. Go ahead and stop your video. This link will be reposted when you're ready for the next one. All right, sweet faces, let's take a look at some ordering. The biggest thing that we need to really pay attention to is which way are we being asked to order? Are we being asked to order least to greatest? Or are we being asked to order greatest to least? We want to make sure each question we take a second to ask ourselves, okay, which way do they want us to order our numbers? So we're going to take a look at our numbers. We're always going to start with the greatest value. For this one, we want least to greatest. So we have some options. We can start with the smallest value and work our way up, or we can number them with the greatest value and put them in order last. I'm going to choose to do the smallest value first. So I look at my biggest place value, which is my hundredths. I have a 3, a 5, a 3, and a 5. So I need to take a look at these two numbers and decide which one is the smallest. Now they both have a 300, so I'm going to look at my tens place. And I know that 0 tens is less than 2 tens, so I'm going to put 301 as my first number and cross it out. My next number would be 329. Now I need to look at my 500ths. They both have the same hundreds, so I'm going to look at the tens. We have 2 tens and 3 tens. 2 tens is going to be smaller, so we have 524 and then 534. All right, my loves, our next set, we're going to flip our thinking. We are doing greatest to least. So we're going to look at our hundredths place first. I have a 900, a 400, a 500, and a 700. My greatest value is going to be my 952. So that one is going to go first on my list. My next one is 743, followed by 509, and 403. For these, I only had to compare the hundredths place, which made it just a tiny bit easier. Again, we're doing greatest to least with the next set. Looking at the largest place value first, I have 900, 100, 800, 800. Looking for the greatest value, starting with 999, 885, 809, and 149. Remember with these two 800ths, the tens place is the place value that's going to help us decide. Next one, back to least to greatest. I have an 800, a 200, a 700, and a 500. All of these have different hundredths place values, so all I have to do is put them in order from smallest to biggest. First is 238, followed by 587, 780, and 894. Next one, least to greatest. I have a 100, a 100, a 500, and a 200. I have two values that are both in the 100, so that means that I'm going to need to look at my tens place. I want the smallest first, so I'm going to start with 155, followed by 178, 233, and 513. Last one, we're going greatest to least. I have 400, 600, 600, and 900. I have two that have the same first value, so I'm looking at the tens place. Going from largest to smallest or greatest to least, I start with 921, 645, 606, and 493. That's the end of this homework review. As always, if you have any questions, please bring them with you to the start of your next class or send me a message, whatever works better for you. I'm going to ask you to stop the video. This video link will be provided to you again when you're ready to review the next page. All right, my loves, we are back for our final page where we are looking at ordering our numbers. So let's take a look. We want to make sure that we are looking at the directions so that we know exactly what's being asked of us. We see that some of these are least to greatest, and some of these are greatest to least. It is really important to make sure that we know exactly what we're being asked to do. All right, let's go ahead and get started, my friends. So this one, we're starting with least to greatest. We have 902, 659, 264, and 841. Looking at the smallest, we're going to do 264, 659, 841, and 902. Next set is greatest to least. We have a 300, a 700, a 200, and a 500. All of these values have different hundredths place, so all we have to do is put them in order, starting with the biggest. So we have 791, 568, 381, and 240. Next set, greatest to least. Again, we have a 900, 500, 900, 100. We have two that have the same greatest value, which means that we need to look at the tens place. We're looking for the largest number, so we're going to start with 930, 923, 565, and 149. Next set, least to greatest, we have 700, 300, 500, 500. We need to take a closer look at these two 500 values, looking specifically at their tens place. You'll notice these also have the same tens value. We need to go even further down to the ones value. Be careful with this one, friends. All right, least to greatest, smallest number first, 374. 581, 589, 738. Least to greatest, we have a 200, 200, 900, 900. We have two here that we need to look at our second values for the 200s as well as the 900s. Again, least to greatest, starting smallest. We're going to start with 285. 297, 946, and 959. Last page, greatest to least, we have a 300, 900, 400, and 300. We need to take a closer look at the 300 values. This one again, greatest to least, starting at the largest number is 950, 443, 387, and 309. That brings us to the end of our homework for this week. If you have any questions, please reach out. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I will see you next week. Goodbye, sweet faces.